So Kobe went to Notre Dame High School, and they gave us this box of index cards where the kids all wrote in there their memories of Kobe. And one of the overwhelming themes or like words that people used to describe him was that he was a light. And hadn't really thought about that before, but literally all these kids use the word he was a light, but he really was. He was, obviously he wasn't perfect. We're all human, and Kobe had his faults, but he was kind to everybody. A boy who was a freshman, and his mom worked out with us at the Max, and she said she was talking to him about Kobe, and she said, "Did you know Kobe?" And he said, "Yeah, I knew Kobe." And she's like, "How do you know Kobe? You're a freshman. He was a senior." He said, "Oh, Kobe came up to me at the we were lifting one day in the weight room, and he asked me what my name was, and I told him." And he said, and every day Kobe would address him by name and ask him how he was doing. Like, this was a freshman. Like, what senior talks to freshmen? Like I said, he was a friend to everybody. He had a huge impact on people. He was definitely a light.
One of the first things I realized was how insecure I was. And so I went through a phase of self-harm, and my family, we just thought like it was a phase because of all the pressure you're under and whatnot. But then in high school, my junior year, my grades started dropping like crazy. I started becoming really distant with my friends. Like, I would push everyone away kind of purposely because I didn't want to be bothered. I felt really alone. I felt like no one could understand me. Everyone would kind of make fun of me for like being depressed. I was hospitalized for a while, and I was out of school doing an outpatient program. I went back to school, and things were a lot better for me. It was still hard because teachers and kids in my class still didn't like understand. Like, they would ask me questions like what happened, this, that, and there's things that you're just not comfortable saying, especially because you don't know how people are going to react to that. So high school went on. It was hard.
I've always been very anxious. It started out when I was little, especially like I had a lot of separation anxiety going to school and being away from my parents, which hasn't changed much. But it's progressed over the years, and it really got bad for me my freshman year. I didn't realize how bad it was. I was kind of like in denial about it, and it affected my family more than it affected me, because even though I was the one that felt it, my family could tell like that they wanted to help me, but they couldn't do anything about it.
A few days before, he came to me, and he actually came home from soccer practice one night, like really late, like 10:30. And he came in the house, and he fell on me crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" And I thought like soccer practice was really hard or something. And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, do you want to talk about it?" He said, "I don't know what to talk about." He said, "The last 2 weeks I've just felt really weird." Part of Kobe's issue, and I also believe, and this is something that's not discussed all that much, I don't think, is suicidal ideation. So, look, I'm not a clinician. I don't know like what's right and wrong and but I do believe that you can have suicidal ideations without necessarily having depression. Okay. Like I said, I could be wrong. I don't know what clinicians say, but that's just my opinion. And I think young people get suicidal ideations a lot more than anyone wants to talk about, because it sounds weird. And I believe that that's what Kobe meant when he said, "I've been feeling weird these last 2 weeks." And he said he didn't know what it was, because I think he was afraid to say, like, "I feel like I want to die," or "I feel like I want to kill myself," or what, like, because that's not socially acceptable to talk about.
Having a support system outside of school, I mean, my family is super supportive to this day. Like, I'd be nowhere without them. But also, I mean, I wish it was better inside of school, but my guidance counselor was amazing, and through it all, like, if there was a problem when I was in class, like, after being in the hospital and coming back to school, I was able to go to her with pretty much anything, and she really helped me through high school. But yeah, I mean, just having an all-around support system, friends, family, people who are positive and they understand you, they don't mock you or make fun of you for anything that you're going through, no matter, like, the smallest things you get upset of, they still understand, like, maybe it's deeper than that because of your situation.
For me, I ended up going to a therapy center in Hamilton, New Jersey. And it was a group therapy session where we all came together, and kids who were my age or like a few years older than me or younger, we all sat in like just a big group and we all talked. And it made me realize that there were more people out there that understood what I felt than I really thought. And that really helped me a lot, because I really thought I was the only person who felt like that. And of course, like, I was told that I was never the only person, but I never saw for myself, or like I could never tell that someone else was feeling the same way.
Vlad, my husband, didn't really understand a lot about mental illness. And like, I've learned a lot in the last year and a half, but at least I understood a little more. Like, he really didn't understand anything. And then after Kobe, I think he realized, like, this is obviously serious stuff, and it's opened his eyes and opened him up to be more open. I would say he was probably one of those people at the school of don't medicate and that, like, but sometimes you have to. And
My dad is Spanish, and his family is really religious, and they actually don't really believe in like medication and mental illness, so that was really tough. But at the end of the day, he wanted me to be better, so he was for it. And yeah, I mean, when they realized that it was bipolar depression, that's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and unfortunately, no matter how much therapy, no matter how much coping mechanisms you build up, you're always going to need medication to be okay. So my parents were really supportive of that, because I mean, I haven't had any issues since I found the right medication, and they can clearly tell that it's working.
It can happen to anybody. Don't think you're immune, and I'm not saying that to scare people. I just want people to know that, like, people need help, and we have to make it okay for them to say something. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lot more kids, and I would say probably a lot more boys too, because boys usually take more drastic measures than girls do. Girls have lots of attempts, may not complete it, but boys, if they try it, they generally complete it because they use more violent means. We just have to be open to people having mental illness, dealing with mental illness. I think if we don't let it out in the open, it will stay hidden, and people will continue to die by suicide.
Biggest problems that I ran into was a lot of people don't think that like mental illness is even real. They think like it's all just made up, it's all in your head, and then you feel more alone and more like crazy. So that was like really hard going back to, because like people felt like, oh, like she just did that for attention, like, or whatnot. And then like you don't really have anyone to talk to, because you don't know that people are going through a similar thing, and most of the stigma behind it is that it is like made up and for people who want attention and whatnot.
People that have anxiety are really no different from like the average person. The only thing that really differentiates us from the other people is that, like, we get anxious. And of course everyone gets anxious, but it gets to the point where it becomes a panic attack, and it does increase, like, your heart rate, and it does make you feel so much worse about yourself. But in the end, within a half an hour, you're back to normal and you're just the average person again. So I mean, there's really no difference between us, and I really hope that everyone can understand what it's like deep down, no matter how fearless or anxious you are, that there's really no specific differences between us, and we're all just people.
Bringing more awareness to other mental illnesses, such myself, bipolar depression, that I never even knew existed or was a real thing. Plus, people always joking, like, being like, oh, you're so bipolar, but no one actually knows what that means. I didn't. So being more aware of other illnesses other than just depression and anxiety. Having more of a support system when you're in school. I mean, school, especially middle school and high school, is really tough. And, like, yeah, you have guidance counselors and whatnot. And I was really lucky to have great ones. But some people don't reach out to them at all. And even teachers may feel like that's almost impossible because of the way they may act towards you when you're going through a hard time. So even teachers being more educated on these things so that they can create more of a healthy environment for people who are mentally ill, that they do feel normal and they don't have to feel like, oh, I need to personally go up to my teacher and tell them what's wrong. Because, I mean, it shouldn't be that necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, they should have some awareness about it already.
I think, I have a friend who actually proposed something to me, and I still want to talk to her about it. And actually, I guess in some ways it is being addressed in the schools, but like, instead of focusing on things like DARE and stuff like that, everybody in 5th grade says, no, I'm not going to do drugs, or I'm not going to drink. But then everybody goes, and not everybody, but, most kids do go do something. And I think a lot of the reasons that kids do that is to mask what they're feeling. Let me try some substance, whether it's alcohol or marijuana or whatever, to make yourself feel better. So instead of focusing on stuff like that, she said, let's get everybody in kindergarten. And at circle time, we talk about mindfulness and, like, what to do when you feel that weird feeling in your tummy or you're shaky, or because kids younger and younger are being diagnosed with these things, and it should start very early. And kids need to understand what's going on inside of them and then how to deal with it, not just squish it down.
So my name's Alyssa, and I have anxiety and depression.
I was diagnosed with bipolar depression. I'm Christina.
So I am Rochelle St. Fard. I am in East Windsor, New Jersey, and I am the mother of Kobe. And Kobe died by suicide in March of 2016 at the age of 18.